Welcome to the Budcast, episode 3, where we discuss smart solutions to dumb problems and dumb solutions to problems that no one has. Disclaimer, we're not experts in any stretch of the imagination, and we are not claiming to know anything. Our opinions are not facts. With that being said, Ted, how are we doing today?
I'm good. My beer's got a dinosaur.
I don't have a beer today, because
Sad.
I need to buy some, because Bud's a broke-ass bitch. So I got a big beer mug full of totally water and not vodka. Could you imagine?
I wasn't suspicious until you said it, and now,
dude, if I could chug vodka like that, like, oh my god, dude.
we'll see how fast this deteriorates.
I would alcohol poisoning first of all, or vomit everywhere. I digress. So, the one thing, and I've known this for a short minute because I looked it up myself, a couple months ago, but I told one of my friends today while we were working on our fluid power assignment about this fun fact I'm about to reveal. Ted already knows it because I told him to, but, did you know that the International Space Station, that thing that's in orbit, flying around the Earth, is traveling at 17,000 miles an hour? 17,000. Your car can go 65 on a highway.
Well,
and they're going 17. Well, it can.
My car can go a lot faster than 65.
I said it can. I didn't say that it does. Yeah, no. My mom drives 85 on the Pennsylvania highways that are marked at 75. First of all, most highways should be marked at 75. I fucking love that. First of all,
fair.
PA knows what the fuck they're doing. When it comes to the speed limit of their highways.
Listen, when it comes to fixing those highways, your danger is going 35 without blowing out your suspension. So no, they don't.
When you hit a pothole and you lose your soul for half a second, you apologize to your car oh, I'm so sorry, that sounded expensive.
Did you see the sinkhole that happened in Pittsburgh that literally ate that bus? Have you seen that? No, Pennsylvania doesn't know how to take care of their roads. The bus is sticking out of the ground like this. There's 8 feet of bus in the back of the hole. No, do not let us go 75 on highways when you can't keep your road stable. No.
Anyways, that's great. I love that. But so you're you think 75, 85 is fucking fast, and it is relative to us. The International Space Station is traveling at Mach 22.5. That's 22 and a half times the speed of sound. Which is 300 miles per hour, something like that. I didn't look it up.
I thought it was more than that, but
it's in the 300. No, it would.
No,
be...
it's faster.
No, why am I thinking 300?
It's just short of 1,000, isn't it?
I think it is. What is fucking? We're not experts. We don't claim.
Google.
No, yeah, speed of sound is 343 meters per second.
There we go.
343 meters per second in miles per hour is 767 miles per hour.
Okay. That's
I knew the number 300 was coming from somewhere, and I forgot what... Units are important. Oh my god, units are... Let me get my microphone a little closer. Maybe, I don't know, that sound better? Sound worse? Maybe I'll overload your mic.
Pretty much exactly the same. It's fine.
Units are fucking important. Anyways, so... I was discussing with Ted briefly, and I'm like, this would be good for the podcast. Ted, what was your question?
All right. So my first thought with that, right, is more just problematic terminology with speed of sound, right? Because it's relative to Earth's atmosphere, right? Bud's comment was if we end up moving to Mars someday, you know what I mean, and human civilization expands, right? Not only is our day-to-day lives going to change and having to mark birth certificates and everything else, but also the things that we know, the speed of sound that exists on Earth and that 300 miles per hour.
I'm going to meters per second.
Do it. We'd have to also convert that into what the speed of sound would be on Mars, how fast you'd have to be traveling to break the sound barrier there. So to call it a sound barrier feels problematic, and I don't like the terminology. But my bigger question...
Go ahead. I want to address that.
Yeah, it's just dumb terminology, and I'm mad at it. But
no, it's not dumb terminology. It's only the terminology based on what we have available to us. The reason we're doing tests in space is because the only atmosphere we've ever had a chance to operate in is one that we've either fabricated or exist in being, Earth. So that's why the speed of sound and the sound barrier is based on Earth's atmosphere, because we haven't had a chance to operate in another atmosphere large enough to test these theories.
But we could just call it Earth's sound barrier, and then all of my problems go away.
We will when we get to Mars. Or the moon.
But then saying that the space station
moves at 17... have an atmosphere, so...
Saying the space station moves at Mach 17.5, right?
22.
Whatever the fuck. So, if it moves at Mach 22, that indicates it's 22 times the sound barrier, right? Like, that's where that number comes from? But no, it's not. It's not creating a sonic boom!
Hold on.
This is deteriorating so fast.
I found the problem with your statement. You're saying that it's times the sound barrier.
Times the speed of sound.
Times the speed of sound.
But sound isn't...
Hold on. No, shut up.
Okay.
The sound barrier can be defined loosely as the point at which something exceeds the atmosphere's restrictions. So, like, once you exceed 700 and whatever miles an hour, you get that sonic boom, that explosion that's like, hey, you're traveling faster than, and that's the waveforms of sound colliding into each other because you're generating them faster than they can travel. That's where the breaking of the sound barrier comes from. The speed of sound is different. And it's literally no different than if we were to call a kilogram some other measurement. It's still a kilogram. It's just going to have a different value tied to it. So if we changed what we define as the speed of sound, it's not going to change the fact that the International Space Station is traveling at 17,000 miles an hour. It would just be redefined as traveling at Mach some other speed, whatever we redefined the speed of sound to be.
I don't like it, but okay.
You don't like it because you don't deal with these numbers on a daily basis. I mean, I don't either, but I deal with them more than you do.
If we called it like Earth's sound barrier, Earth's speed of sound, I'd be fine with it.
And we will when we get to Mars. But if you walk into a scientific convention and say, hey, so, like, why do we call it the speed of sound and not Earth's sound barrier? They're going to look at you and be like, have you been to Mars? Have we been to another planet where we need to define that? No.
They're
going to look at you and be like,
I'm going to leave it alone. My bigger question.
Ted, if you... No, hold on. We will get there. If you go up to literally anyone and say, hey, blah, 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 speed of sound, every single person is going to automatically default to Earth's speed of sound. Because there hasn't been another globally accepted constant for the speed of sound other than Earth's. Anyways.
It's fair, but I don't like it. Anyway, my bigger question, right, was if the space station is moving that fast around Earth's atmosphere, are the people inside, like, able to walk around freely, or are they still in zero gravity? And my reason for thinking that, right, that people would be able to, like, walk around is not gravity. Obviously, it's zero G, but, like, if there's a fly in your car, right? Your windows are closed. There's no wind coming in, right? You're in your car. Stop fucking laughing, bud. If you're driving in your car,
I'm about to ruin this whole man's career.
The fly has the ability to fly from the back seat to the front seat, even though your car is moving 60 miles an hour. That fly isn't going 120 to be able to, like, fly faster. It's using the pressure that's inside the car because it's different than the pressure outside the car. Because
it's not the pressure; right? It's the lack of air movement.
Okay, sure. But inside the space station, if it's moving that fast, right, you'd think that the people inside would be independently able to move because of the airlock, and that the air inside, they could walk around, and there would be a pull from the space station moving. I don't know.
Okay, so I think I have a way to explain this in a not needing a degree in physics. Okay, so the problem with your analogy is you're comparing it to a fly. Flies do not, when they fly, they're using air. They're not using their legs.
Well, you could walk on a bus. It's the same thing to me.
Oh, no, it's not.
What the fuck?
You ready? Okay,
no.
So now we need, first of all, I want to address something you did say. There is no such thing as zero gravity.
Oh, Okay.
Everything. No. This is important.
Okay.
Everything has gravity all the time. It's not Avogadro's constant. I don't know why I thought of that.
Avogadro's number is moles.
Yeah,
I know that one.
I know the Stefan Boltzmann's constant something else. Anyway, so like there is a number, the constant for gravity, and that is the amount of gravity that every object has per some degree of its mass. And you can multiply that out and find out the gravity of something. So like if you were to take two orbs, like two balls, and put them like an inch apart from each other, and put them in a quote-unquote zero gravity space, they will be attracted to each other because they both have gravity. Okay. So
all right.
that feeling of weightlessness that you would experience in space is not that you're no longer affected by gravity. It's that you're falling towards Earth at the same speed that you're revolving around the Earth, orbiting it. So there is, and to help explain this, there is that they do for tests, and Stephen Hawking actually got to experience it before he passed away. The Vomit Comet, so it's called. And so this is going to be our bus, Ted, right? It's a plane. And it flies up to some ungodly altitude. And when you're at that altitude, you can walk around freely as if you're on a bus traveling 40 miles an hour on a back road. Because our buses travel 40 miles an hour on back roads because I live in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Okay.
Or, 30 miles an hour on a Pennsylvania highway. Or no miles an hour because you're in a fucking pitfall, like a
you just leaning, dude.
You're just like, now you're falling backwards. Anyway, so that's our bus, right?
Yeah.
And then the Vomit Comet is completely sealed, right? So the air inside is just like your fly. It's going nowhere.
Okay.
But then this Vomit Comet dives.
Okay.
Like it just free falls out of the sky in a nosedive. Everyone in the cabin begins to float.
Okay.
And that's because they're in free fall. Right? So like if you jump out of a plane, the only reason you don't go any faster than 270 miles an hour, which is not Mach 1. It's that's the... Wow, I literally said this yesterday. Terminal velocity. There we go. I think terminal velocity is like 270 something. My mouse is broken. I guess I won't be Googling anything. Just doesn't want to work.
It's all good.
Nope.
I'm familiar with terminal velocity, though. It's the max speed at which something can fall before it stops gaining speed. Yeah.
In our atmosphere due to air resistance. So in this shuttle, the people inside are not going to be experiencing air resistance, so there's nothing to force them up. So they enter free fall. They're falling at the same speed at which the plane is falling.
Okay.
So the only difference is that the International Space Station is doing the exact same thing with those people inside, except for it's traveling so far forwards that by the time it has decided to fall at all, it has traveled so far away that the difference in the curvature of the Earth, so like a basketball, and you take like a ruler and you put it on top. So you got like a round curved surface and you got a flat ruler. And we're going to call this the tangent. If you go back to geometry, the International Space Station, if you were to suddenly cut gravity out, like gravity just didn't exist anymore, the International Space Station is going to travel in a straight line tangential to Earth. Or rather, its orbit around Earth, and it's going to fly away.
But moving forward, and then the pull on the fall is what causes it to curve. I got it.
Exactly. So as it's traveling forward, it's falling at the same speed that it's traveling forwards.
But then it's created a new tangent that the same process repeats until it says, yes,
and that's actually where like your differential equations come in, where you can start calculating like areas of curves and you have limits, and that gets into, that's where you start getting to like really advanced math. Like differential equations is all about calculating rates and velocities and God knows how fucking many other things. I know how to solve them. I don't remember all of their applications. But so like, and so if we go back to our model of our bus in the sky, which is now in free fall, you are still under the effects of gravity. You are falling towards Earth. You have gravity. Earth did not let go of you. But you're in weightlessness because you're falling at the same speed and there's no external forces pushing you in any one direction. So the reason why you don't have that ability to walk on the International Space Station is because the International Space Station is in free fall, just like you're in free fall. So you can't walk on the International Space Station. So that's why everyone up there is in weightlessness.
Okay.
Now, if you were to take a space station out into like deep space, where it doesn't necessarily have an orbit, where it's just kind of fucking off and chilling in space, where there's no planets nearby that are close enough to exert a gravitational force worth of note, then you could spin the station and create centripetal force or centrifugal, one of the two, I forget. And then you could create artificial gravity, which isn't necessarily gravity, but rather you're imparting a force. So like that's like holding a rock on a string above your head and spinning it. You get the same kind of thing where it wants to fly out. So then you'd be able to walk and your head would be pointed towards the center of rotation. You could build artificial gravity that way, but like International Space Station doesn't fuck with that because that's a fucking logistical nightmare.
Yeah, seems it.
Oh yeah.
Seems it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but that makes sense. That makes sense now. All right.
And what's really fun to note is that space is not a perfect vacuum. So the International Space Station is slowing down. So, like, occasionally they will need to fire up the boosters on the International Space Station to get it back up to its speed so that it doesn't deorbit and crash into the Earth. So, like, if humanity were to die tomorrow and no one was maintaining the International Space Station, eventually it will fall out of orbit, much like satellites will. But, you know, that's because Earth space is in a perfect vacuum, and there are still particles that are going to strike the surface of the International Space Station and absorb its ability to move forward. And there's a video. There's tons of videos, actually. I don't want to say tons, but there's some videos where you can watch the International Space Station do these burn-in effects, these burns, I guess you could say, and you can watch the crew in the International Space Station move to the back of the International Space Station as it speeds up. Because, well, there's no forces acting on them to get them to speed up until they touch the International Space Station. Then they get brought up to speed with the International Space Station, and now they're both traveling again at the same velocity.
Interesting.
It's really cool. So like that fly in your car,
that does sound cool. Yeah.
Like when you begin accelerating, if that fly doesn't try to move forward and the air in the cabin is not pushing him forward, he's going to go to the back of the car.
Interesting.
It's just not nearly as notable because flies are extremely lightweight. So the amount of force that they would need to generate to move themselves up to speed is minimal.
All right. I'm going to speed up now. I'm going to be a bus driver and speed up so I can watch people slide to the back of the bus.
That's exactly what would happen.
Yeah.
Until they
grabbed
onto a part of the bus or the friction of their butt on the ground was enough to catch up.
I'm going to remove all the seats. You all stand up. Don't hold anything so I can watch you slide. And that's it.
Oh, you're not going to slide, dude. You're going to fly. You're going to like
well, I can't make a speed. I can't make a bus go 0 to 60. Yeah. No, well, that endangers people and I won't do that.
Well, no, like if you, I'm not gonna say no, like it wouldn't endanger people. Sure, no, it's definitely gonna kill someone. But like, you know, that's what kills people in car accidents. It's not the speed of the accident; it's the sudden stop.
Yeah.
Because if you take a bus and you're standing in the back of the bus and it's going 60 miles an hour, and it slams into a brick wall and comes to an immediate halt, you're still traveling in that bus at 60 miles an hour. The bus has stopped. You're still going. You are slamming into a brick wall, which is now filled with shrapnel from the fucking windscreen and all of the metal components that have busted and gone all over the place. And you're slamming into that at 60 miles an hour. That's what kills people.
Fun.
Yeah, so wear your seatbelts. It's important.
Yeah, definitely wear your seatbelts.
It literally, even if you die in the accident, a seatbelt is the difference between an open casket funeral and a closed casket funeral. I'm not even kidding. That's a little morbid. So, like, you know.
I don't like the way you use that terminology, but
I can't.
You're right. You're right, but also, what the hell?
Yeah, no, that's fucked up. But I was going to go and I was going to be like, what other topics do we have to discuss on the podcast? And my mouse is not working, but I know that it has to do with the topic that we've been trying to discuss, or rather, I don't want to say trying to discuss, but we've had it on our radar. List of, It has been on our radar. It's been on our list of things to discuss since Budcast episode 0, which is now 4 Budcasts ago, including this one, and it's video games.
I'm so old.
I'm surprised You're so old?
Yeah, man, it's been 4 weeks since we started this. I'm old. I'm ancient. Continue.
Well, then you're gonna feel real bad when 8-year-olds were born in 2012.
Yeah, that's true.
Does fuck with me just a little.
There
People
are
say like, "Oh yeah, like 10 years ago." I'm thinking like, "Yeah, 1990
no.
was a good time."
The one that really gets me right is that there are people right who were born in this millennium in the 2000s, right, who are old enough to have kids of their own.
Yeah,
that hurts me. Like,
next year,
if somebody tells me,
born in
if
2000
somebody
will be old enough to drink.
If somebody tells me that they were born in 2000, I was like, oh, so you're in middle school, great, and they're not. They have kids. They have kids. It really, really hurts.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, we've been trying to get back to video games, and literally, I'm trying to derail us again.
Look at us go, derailing ourselves. Yeah, so
nailed it.
And it's kind of ironic too, because we're like the cringe crew is all about building, like, content creation is what it's about, but a lot of that content creation is video games, like streaming video games on Twitch, streaming video games on the YouTube, like uploading like gaming clips to the YouTube, which, by the way, there's a new Fall Guys comp from Ted. I recommend you watch it. I go and get Funyuns in the middle of it.
It's so funny. Good. It's so good.
Funny.
And shout out to Gabe, man. A1 editor. That man's hilarious. My content is like B-rate, C-rate at best, and Gabe makes it A1 content. I love that, man.
Yeah, so anyway, video games. So originally it's almost like we're dodging this at this point.
It sure seems that way, and I promise we're not.
So the original discussion was going to be the difference between two major game styles that have come up in the previous 2 years, being Battle Royale and story-driven games. Or rather, the longer games that are more single-player based, where Battle Royale has, like, you know, you're a busy man, you come home, you sit down, you play 2 games of Warzone or, you know, Fortnite, or you play 2 quick games, and you're like, yeah, that was fun. I got that adrenaline rush that I needed. I enjoyed my game, and then you go off and you do something else. Whereas, you know, the story-driven game, you come home, you play like 2-3 hours every single day. You're like, yeah, dude, I can't wait to see what happens with Kratos and fucking this weird dude that came up, and I'm gonna keep calling my boy because he doesn't have a name, or he does. Like, I didn't play God of War, but you know, and that's like an interesting topic of discussion, and that's originally where we were gonna go with it. And now there's just so much in regards to video games that we could literally talk for like 3 hours at a time. So
every time.
Pick a spot.
Yeah, every time we've tried to bring this concept up, we've had like, hey, we're going to talk about video games next week, right? And we've got this other thing to say, right? We added one big one that I definitely want to get to at some point, but like I can't let this we're finally here. I can't let this conversation go without like discussing like why Bud hates battle royales. And I know we've done it once. I'm here to yell about it again.
I hate battle royales. Like I all right, you know, I need to amend that statement. I don't hate them, but I do not enjoy them. They are not for me. I am the long game. I like single player games. I like PvE style games. I very rarely like player versus player games. And Battle Royale is almost strictly player versus player.
Sure. My thing with Battle Royales, right, is like conceptually they're new. You know what I mean? Like that sounds really obvious to say it in that sentence, but like when you've been able to pick up shooters for 30 years now. I'm so old, but you've been able to pick up shooters for 30 years now, right? Like, you know, we've had sports games forever, and no matter what sport they put on it next, like, you've still played sports games before, and you've still played story games, even if the story's different. Like, you still played story games, you know? Like, if you pick up an Xbox controller and you get a single player game, the A button's going to be to jump, like, all the time. You know, like, the story's different, you're learning different things, there's different characters, but, like, Battle Royales came into the game, and they took a genre in shooters that already existed, but they changed the framework of it, where it's not just, hey, go shoot, kill, right? They added in...
Hold on. Sorry, before I forget it, fucking meme, like, everyone needs a Nintendo in the apocalypse, alright? Nintendo's like, push the A button to jump and collect the gold coin, and fucking PlayStation is like, hold triangle to bury your wife. Anyways, tell me I'm wrong!
I have to pay respects, dude. Mouse and keyboard gang. But Battle Royale added in an element of RNG I know Bud's got a sticking point on that, so I won't get too far into this specific thought. But battle royales have an element of RNG where like you have to go and you have to find your loot. You have to get lucky about what loot you get and where you decide to drop and who else decides to drop there because, hey, we have free thought and anybody can end up anywhere. Like battle royales had the ability to like. There's not only a concept of like go shoot kill, but it's when you're moving, where you're moving, how you're going to get cover when you get there, and then like you still while to win games you more often than not need to have some skill. Like the big thing about battle royales for me is that like if you lose a game of Fortnite and you place 94th, right? Like you just jump into the next one. There's no like, oh man, I didn't win, because in every single game there's one winner and 99 losers, right? You can play a game and not win and still feel okay about it at the end of it, and you don't rage that like, oh, everybody's always better than me and my team always sucks. No, that doesn't exist in a battle royale. It's like you got lucky with loot, you didn't get lucky with loot. That guy saw you first, you saw him first. Whatever the case is, there's an element of RNG that makes like that doesn't mean if you're the best player in the lobby you win. Doesn't exist all the time. I love that.
Yeah, like and I respect that, and I will set aside my distaste for battle royale to help aid in the discussion, because I'm not disagreeing that it definitely has. No. Like I think battle royale has its place in gaming. It does. Like okay. I don't like it. It's not for me, but that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be there. My problem comes from when everything got a battle royale. Like, oh wow, Fortnite, it's so popular, brand new. Wow. This like everyone plays in one winner like kind of mentality, and then fucking everything got a battle royale mode. Games that already existed got a battle royale mode. Tetris got a battle royale. Tetris got a battle royale mode.
I mean,
why?
I think
I'm not saying that that's not cool, because I don't think it's cool. But like everything got a battle royale game. It felt oversaturated, and that's where my distaste comes from it. But
okay.
I also want to add on, you mentioned there, I know that you didn't mention it, but like, you drop in your 94th out, you go into your next game, not a big deal. You got your adrenaline rush. Like you went to Tilted Towers, like you grabbed the shotgun, you blew someone away, and then someone else hit you with an RPG. Like, fuck, well,
right.
All right, high tension, high adrenaline. But then you also have people who want to try to actually do well, and they drop in at the outskirts of the map. When you drop out in the outskirts of that map, or rather in any map for that matter, any battle royale style game, you're pretty guaranteed to be above 50th. And I would imagine that it's pretty rewarding to be like, hey, like I didn't get first, but like I was better than over half of these guys because I made it to 47th place before I got eliminated. Like, and there's also that gratification of like, I'm getting better, and there's a visible scale on which you can compare that to, like, oh, I was 47th, I was 43rd this time. Well, we went back, I had a bad drop, and I got eliminated early because RNG wasn't in my favor. 53, and then you're like, oh, but 37 because I found a golden RPG or some shit like that.
Sure.
Like,
my only dispute to that is I think that like it's a risk versus reward play, right? So while you drop into the hottest zone on the map and 60 other players drop there, right? Getting out of there, like, indicates you're going to have better loot because it's usually a hot drop because there's more loot there, right? So
yeah,
Fortnite's the easiest example because I think most people are familiar with it, right? Like, I don't think you've ever played 7 seconds of Fortnite and you've already referenced Tilted Towers, right? So if you drop Tilted Towers, right, there's a million buildings, right? They've all got loot in them. They're all 15 stories high. Like, there's a lot of stuff there, right? So getting out of Tilted Towers is a higher risk because more people are going to drop there because there's more loot there, right? Where if you drop to the outskirts of the map and you go to Junk Junction, right? There's 3 chests in the whole place, right? So the loot you're leaving with, even if you finish at 45th and the first guy to die at Tilted Towers is 99th, right? Like, the things that you're leaving with aren't as good as they could have been if you had decided to play more competitively. And so like that's the thing that like isn't just like a standard shooter. If you take Call of Duty, right, and the Warzone is probably one of the better and more balanced battle royale games in my opinion, right? Like, I think they were the first ones to like be like, hey, you guys got it right, and totally right.
I have no idea what Warzone is, by the way.
Warzone's the Call of Duty battle royale.
I know it's Call of Duty, but like beyond that, that's it.
Yeah, all good. My thing with with like going into a Call of Duty like just a regular team deathmatch game, right? There's always guns that are better than other guns. It's the way it's always been. It's the way it always will be. Like, it's the reason there's more than one gun in Call of Duty is because something's going to be better than something else. It's just the way it goes. And if everybody in your lobby is using that really strong gun, and then you're the only guy in that lobby that isn't, you're probably going to die more often because, like, you had the control over what was in your inventory, right? Sure, you're going to get a couple of kills, and sure, you may have games that you don't die that often, but odds are, like, they've got better guns, they're better for a reason, they're going to kill you more often. And in Battle Royales, right, like, the things that you get out of playing that like, it adds an element of random, right? Like, if I drop in, right, as the same place as Ninja, okay, and the first chest I open has 18 gold guns and I have everything under the sun, and the only thing he gets is a basic pistol, I'm probably going to kill him because of the RNG. That's not because I'm better. It's not because, he's worse. By no means. But I think the RNG adds enough element of random that he can be okay dying. I could occasionally get that kill. You know what I mean? He's never going to kill me 10 out of 10 times because he's better. Like, the element of random makes every game different, and you still have to work to get victories, even if it is through RNG rather than raw talent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just the difference between like a multiplayer game and jumping into a battle royale, that element of random like creates different games, and I think that's what's cool about battle royales is the element of random.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing. And that element of random. Did you mention that I don't like random?
Yeah, I did.
Because that's not true.
Okay.
Now that I'm thinking about it, it's not the randomness. It's more so the PvP. It's the sudden risk reward. Like, you drop in some dude who's been getting real sweaty for like 40 years, drops in and he's like, haha, I spotted you over there. And he's like that Dark Souls dude, like when you're just chilling in Dark Souls and you get invaded and the dude just runs up to you with like a broken off short sword and in like underwear. And he's just like, oh, I backstabbed you 73 times before you could blink. Haha, well, fuck you. Like, there, and just like you mentioned, like RNG keeps it so that like you could stand a chance against Ninja if the cards were to fall that way. It unfortunately skill does play a factor, and even if you do have it, if someone's slightly less good random, they can overpower you with skill. And where I'm going with this is that I enjoy roguelike games, but roguelike games have a sense of progression where at least more common and roguelike games have that, you died, oh no, but like you got this and this out of it, and you could take these with you the next time that you didn't have in the first place.
Okay.
Like you're familiar with roguelike, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, by the way, roguelike is actually like Rogue was the name of a game. It was an ASCII styled game as well, and that's where the term roguelike comes from, because like it was random, but it was ASCII graphics. Really old game, kind of cool. I never played it, kind of want to, but they are very random, and I enjoy that. But they're not PvP; they're PvE, player versus everyone, anything.
Sure.
And so like I enjoy the randomness, but I also know that in those situations I can take my time. I don't like being rushed. Whereas like the center, like the center of any battle royale style game, like whether it be gas or the storm or whatever, is going to be enclosing on you, and you've got to like, you either got lucky or you didn't, and now you've got to hope that your skill overpowers your lack of preparation, like your inability to prepare, and that you just happen to be good with your shitty basic pistol. Like,
sure.
So like I enjoy random, but I also enjoy having time. So like I enjoy roguelike, but I do not like battle royale.
Well, I can't argue against the time. My thing with the skill level, right, is that I think that's the benefit of being able to jump into the next game. If you drop into Tilted Towers and 48 people all headshot you collectively at one time, where they all 48 bullets hit you in the side of the skull at the exact same time,
fucking suck.
That
wouldn't even be like, oh no, I was shot. I'm pretty sure your head just explodes.
Outside of that happening, right? Like, outside of that extreme where your feet haven't hit the ground and you get blasted out of the game, right? Like, you develop some, even if it's the smallest semblance of skill, right? You can hit the top building in Tilted Towers, and if you find a chest and then you die opening that chest, at least you know where the chest was next time. Or at least you know where to look for that other guy coming where he could have possibly dropped. Or, you know, in Fortnite specifically, you could learn about, like, hey, here's how to build. I had to build 2 ramps, so now I know where my ramp button is, and I know how to get to it more conveniently, or how I could ramp up the side of a hill. And even if you end up losing, you can gain that skill because you can cycle through games so fast, and losing doesn't feel bad.
I disagree with the losing doesn't feel bad. That's one of my other problems, is just that PvP, like, until you get good, like, and that's the thing, like, you have to put in the time. Look at League. Like, League is a great example of so much information. Like, everything you're ever going to need to know is right up front, so you're not going to need to learn anything new until, like, content updates happen. But, you know, until you put, I don't know Leagues, because I don't play it. But I know you do. But, you know, I think you could compare it to just about any game, not even just League, that there's, until you beat that learning curve where you beat that, like, okay, this is my ramp button, this is how I build, this is how you build effectively. Like, until you break that, unless you've got good skill or you're playing with a group that can carry you, or, which, you know, is pretty handy, like Overwatch. Like, when I first joined and started playing Overwatch, like, I didn't know what I played 8 hours straight of Mercy, nothing else, because I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what I was doing. It's not that it wasn't fun, but, you know, you have to put in that time. And if the idea of a battle royale is drop in, play real quick, have fun, enjoy, get out, doesn't, in order to get to that point, you've got to put in the time to learn the game. And for a lot of people, specifically me, that's something that I'm not willing to do. You know, I don't want to join a game and drop in the wrong spot and, like, oh, I didn't learn how to build fast enough, so I got murked and I didn't get the chance to learn. And then I drop in again and it's like, okay, well, I finally found out how to build, but, like, it didn't matter because that dude over the hill with a sniper got me. Like, ooh, and then you know, and that's going to continue to happen. It's going to happen less and less and less. I'm not saying that it won't, but, you know, getting past that feeling of helplessness is one of the biggest vaults that you need to overcome before you can start to really enjoy games like that, in my opinion.
So I'm going to take it back to Overwatch with you for a second, because like,
I know that game.
Even when you started playing Overwatch, right, there was a whole lot of learning about who's this character and what do they do and what's the positioning and what's the objective on this map, and there's things to learn, right?
Even learning.
Even as you were going through the majority of that learning curve, the entry level curve, right? You probably had close to a 50% win rate. And that's just because it's team based, and, like, you're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some, and there's still losses that feel frustrating because you get stomped into the ground, or because one guy was doing something toxic or whatever. In a battle royale game,
also playing with you, who you knew what you were doing as well.
Sure, that helps, but even if not, you're getting placed in a lobby with other level 1s, and sure, there's Smurfs, and but there can still be a level of frustration about, hey, there's no way that's this guy's first game, just like it's my first game, right? Like, there's still things that can frustrate you in that sort of PvP environment, right?
Yeah.
And I recognize that there are people who are just going to be enraged at everything, right? I've yelled at fucking Fortnite, I've yelled at Warzone, dude, I get it. Like,
what game haven't you yelled at?
Clicker Heroes.
Except for maybe Satisfactory.
Clicker Heroes. I've yelled at Satisfactory. Not the point, okay? Like, I recognize that there are ways to get mad about these things. But in a Fortnite game, the difference between that and Overwatch, or a Battle Royale game and Overwatch, right, is that as you're on that learning curve, it's placing you with other players that are on that learning curve. Things are still going to frustrate you. The Fortnite will, like, link you in with everybody. There's a higher than 0 chance that I've played with Tfue, or I've played with Ninja, or I've played with Dr. Lupo, and I'd never know it, right? The difference is that if one person wins in a lobby of 100 people, you should expect to lose. Your win rate isn't going to be 50-50. It's not, well, we should have won that one, because odds are you weren't going to win it. If you're just playing the odds game, you have to play 100 games to see a win. Like,
no, I recognize that.
And so I think if you can take that small shred of knowledge and apply it to your next game, right? You don't have to be mad about your last loss, because you could expect to lose just based on the nature of the game itself. Then you can apply it to have more skills, so when you get into those situations that are skill-based, as you've played more games, or you end up in more situations or whatever, like, you can apply that to having the skill to counteract where the RNG doesn't cover you.
No, yeah,
I think,
I'm not disagreeing. It's just now you need to discuss like what are your expectations going into this game? Like me being a guy that plays a lot of single player games, a lot of story driven games, a lot of like games that like are PvE. Like in PvE games, the reason that you win is because, well, they want you to keep playing, otherwise you don't get your money's worth out of that game. Satisfactory is a fantastic example. That game isn't PvE. It's a very laid back. Well, I don't play it laid back, but you can play it as a laid back game of like just building a factory and enjoying your time, and that is winning. So I think it comes down to your perspective of what are you expecting to get out of this game. Yeah. And I cannot find the ability to and or have not exercised or tried to go into a battle royale knowing that I'm going to lose, because knowing my background of gaming, if I know I'm going to lose, then why the fuck am I going to play it in the first place? Okay, if I can go play a game that I'm objectively going to win at, because I know that the game is built for me to get good and learn and guarantee me wins when I get to that point. Whereas in battle royales, you're never guaranteed to win in the battle royale ever. Okay. You're not guaranteed that ever. And in other games, like you're guaranteed wins, quote unquote. So It comes down to your expectations of what you're going into this game with. And like you might be able to go in with the expectation of like, well, I'm going to play the odds game and I don't expect to see my first win for 100 games. So like I'm just going to play through 100 games and see what happens. I can't do that because I am not willing to take 99 L's to get one win. Well, that sounds ridiculous to me.
Let me ask it to you this way then. You referenced Dark Souls, right? So Dark Souls might be an extreme example, but take a game like that where like it's a single player game, it's a story, you're going to die a bunch, but you're going to either learn objectives or you'll get better weapons or better stats or whatever because of it, right? Like, okay, great. How many times did you have to die to get to that end game? Right? Like,
no. Like So see
my question.
Hold on. No, go ahead. Okay. No, you go ahead.
My question is, if you die in a Dark Souls game 100 times and then you finally beat the game, right? Yeah. Why is that different than losing 99 times in Fortnite and then winning your 100th game? So if you've learned things in Dark Souls to get you to the end game that allow you to get that final win, versus you learned all the things in Fortnite to have the skill to win a game, whether it comes after 100 or 15,000 because of RNG, like in your mind, what's the difference?
So the difference is where that loss came from. In Dark Souls, it came from the game. The game is hard-coded. The game is not going to change. That's like in that idea of guaranteed wins, like, that monster is going to be in that same spot with those same weapons every single time. And if I learn to deal with that situation, I know that I'll be able to at least get past that one. Whereas in Fortnite, your drop location isn't always going to be the same. The people you meet are not always going to be the same. The loot's always going to be random. So and that loss comes from unexpectedness of another player, whereas a death in Dark Souls comes from that same guy who's in that same spot, so you can learn that specific situation and overcome that specific situation. Whereas, and I'm not saying that you won't be in similar situations in Fortnite, like, oh, I dropped in the tilted and I'm on this roof with one guy instead of two guys, but it happens enough that you're like, okay, well, I know how to deal with two people. Grab a chest, jump out of the window, escape. Like, sure, you can learn that, but there are so many more factors working against you learning a situation that it no longer becomes learning a situation. It becomes learning everything else but the situations that they're going to throw at you, and then relying on skill and random luck in order to overcome those situations. And that's more or less, it's, if I lose in Dark Souls, it's because I lost to the game. If I lose in Fortnite, I lost to a player. And that's, again, I really don't like PvP. Like, the only reason I really enjoy Overwatch is because I'm still on a team of 6 people. And I do have to admit, I did play 4 games of Fortnite. One solo, hated it. And the other 3 were in groups of people. And I got one victory. I did win a game of Fortnite.
You bastard, beating RNG.
In a group. And I didn't feel anything. It was like, all right, cool. Well, I had my fun. I'll see you guys later. And like, it was actually with one of my residents. I'll leave his name anonymous. Not that I don't think it would matter, but good guy. I'm still in touch with him too. But like, I played with him. We were actually cross-platform, PS4 to PC, when that became supported. But And like, even though I was in a group, which is one of the reasons that I enjoy Fortnite is that you're on a team. I wasn't feeling it. It's just, I think we could overanalyze like Fortnite, all of its goods, all of its bads, like what I would enjoy about it, what I don't enjoy about it. And I think at the end of the day, no matter what, I'm still just not going to like it because I don't know if you'd call this psychology, but I just decided to not like it.
Okay, that's it's fair. I'm not forcing you into
no.
battle.
I know. Yeah, no. Like, I definitely. And I should make it clear. I don't know if it sounds like Ted's shitting on me for not liking it, or I'm shitting on him, or I'm shitting on him for liking Battle Royale. I'm like, no. Like, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Like, it's just simple as that. And I enjoy analyzing these things because I now understand a lot more of what I would enjoy from. Like, I will only partially agree, but like to a degree it was I don't like the randomness, but I like roguelike games and I they're random. Like it's not the randomness I don't like. And I've narrowed in my own ability to discern what makes games enjoyable for me.
Sure. I would like to take one of those sentences there and sort of
modify
segue us into into us into a different you mentioned there that like you all right. You remember when cross console happened, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to like talk about like the development of games moving forward and the different things we want to see. Okay, Bones. I want to talk about the way that you see like the video game community as a whole like modifying itself. Like I think cross console was a pretty huge step for gaming itself, but like I want to talk about like how games are going to develop and what new things, new styles, new whatever we could see in upcoming years. But I also want to talk about like Twitch and the platforms in which we, consume video gaming for what it's worth. So for one example, cross console was huge, right? The ability to like, hey, I remember when I went out and bought. Not my next gen console, but the one before it. I bought an Xbox 360 because almost all my friends were on 360. At that point in time in my life, I had no idea, like, what was in the machines or what made one better or what made one worse. There was no information in my mind as to which console I wanted other than, well, my friends own Xbox and I can't play with them if they don't. And since then, gaming has developed to the point where, depending on what game you're playing, it doesn't matter if you own an Xbox, a PlayStation, a PC, a Nintendo Switch, you can still play those games together. Like, yeah. What kind of developments do you realistically see happening in the next couple years or decade or whatever to video games that are like going to revolutionize things in the same fashion that cross console is?
So I love that question. That's a great question. Because they're just And that's one of the great things about that question is there's no finite answer because something that we don't even know exists is going to revolutionize the gaming industry. Mm-hmm. One of the big ones was handhelds. The Nintendo DS. Like, we already had handhelds, but the Nintendo DS, like, revolutionized the handheld gaming market. Before that, it was Game Boys, and like the only reason anyone really got a Game Boy was because Pokemon's on the Game Boy.
Yeah, and then you got a Switch because it had a touchscreen and internet access, and there was like the ability to game together. And now we're at the Nintendo. We're at the Nintendo Switch now, and the Nintendo Switch is fucking monumental. It is both simultaneously a home console and a portable console. Now, I am in no way, shape, or form saying that it's better than an Xbox One in terms of power, but power.
Power. Like,
you said better than, and I was like, a little bit.
But
in power, yeah.
Let me preface this.
Yeah,
I'm a Nintendo fanboy. I own one console that is not Nintendo, and it is an Xbox 360.
Attaboy.
It is the only thing I do not own that is Nintendo.
That isn't Nintendo yet.
Yeah, so like I've got my NES, I've got two NESs, top loader and the lunchbox. I've got an SNES, I've got the SNES Classic, I've got I could go on. I have everything except for the Virtual Boy. And with that being said, I think that the next big revolutionizing like thing coming from gaming is VR. Like that's the obvious one, sure, but
okay. Well, I mean, I thought but what do you want to see out of games? In what ways do you want to see?
I want to see?
Yeah, if you had like technology limitations aside, what things do you want to see that would make games bigger, better, like something to like reinvigorate your enthusiasm for gaming?
That is a really difficult question because I don't know my answer. But, the one thing that I've found that I've really enjoyed that is becoming a more common thing is different genres.
Okay.
Like before, like if you were to go back to the 360 era, what were the big genres? Hardcore story-driven games, like The Last of Us.
Story-driven games, shooters, games.
And arcade games, and RPG games, like Skyrim. Okay. Those were like, I'm sure we're missing one or two, but like for the sake of argument, like those are the big, massive, in-your-face game genres that are like, these are the only kinds of games you can make. You can either make a game with dragons, you can make an RPG game, but instead of dragons, they're behemoths and it's Fallout. Okay. Or you can make a story-driven game that's basically cutscenes with QuickTime events, or you can do games that have little to no story and it's click and shoot.
Yep.
Or point and shoot. Like, like Halo.
That applies to arcades and shooters.
Literally. Like, but in the recent years, like Factorio was huge, despite being still, I don't know how well recognized Factorio is, but like, it's a factory building game. It's building a factory to build more parts, to build bigger factories, which is everything that Ted hates about Minecraft, but like he enjoys Satisfactory. And now we've got 3D like Factorio, which is Satisfactory. And like, it's a completely different genre of game that has sparked innovations and different ideas for video games in large. Like, I can't name any of them, but I've seen 3, 4, 5 different styles of games that are all of the same genre, but very, very different from each other. Like, they all have to do with building things that build things, but they all have different objectives. They all have different goals. They all have different methods of completing these objectives. So I think like the big thing is genre of gaming, because like battle royale is a genre of games. Yeah, and it hit. And it hit fucking hard.
Without PUBG, we wouldn't have them. You know what I mean? They're everywhere now. Like Bud said, they flooded the market. But
survival games, survival games are huge. I don't know if I can tell you the first big survival game, but like, now we've got Stranded Deep, we've got The Forest, we've got Green Hell, we've got Raft, like, and they're all amazing survival-based adventure games.
And they all have the ability to be different from each other. Like, that's the cool thing.
Yeah. And if technology isn't a problem, like 20 years ago, if you told me that there was going to be a Legend of Zelda game where I could literally run across all of the map and go to Death Mountain and still be able to like shoot my bow and arrow 40 fucking miles back towards where I came from, I'd laugh at you. Yeah. But now we have Breath of the Wild, and it's an open world game. And now we've got more games that are open world. Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, I don't know if Red Dead 1 was... I didn't play either of them, unfortunately.
I thought it was open world? I don't know anything.
I don't know, but like, the restrictions are going to open up different... Removing the technological restrictions and introducing creativity is going to make so many different genres of games, and that's what I'm most excited to see. Like rhythm games, like DDR, Guitar Hero.
Thanks, Guitar Hero.
Mike's spin rhythm game, like Clone Hero, which is like
it's Guitar Hero,
but
not licensed.
Like, and that's what I'm really excited to see moving forward is a different genre of gaming, aside from hardware. Because like I'd love to see a whole genre of gaming come up with VR.
Well, that's my thing is not so much hardware, but like if the thing that I want to see
do with what we've got.
The thing I want to see revolutionized is accessibility more than the hardware itself. Like right now, right? VR is a great example, right? Like, I'm not broke by any stretch of the imagination, right? But I'm also not out here going to drop $300 on a VR headset to play Phasmophobia and Beat Saber. You know what I mean? Like, the accessibility for somebody to get their hands on something that's entry level, you know what I mean? Like to go buy an Oculus Rift or whatever the hell the Oculus models are now, I don't even know. Like, your ability to pick that system up and do something and create something different with it, or to like convert some game that already exists into VR so that there's like immersion,
which sucks, by the way,
or the ability, like, there are so many games, so many thousands and thousands and thousands of games that are available on Steam that you can't play if you own an Xbox or a PlayStation or whatever. And like, I recognize that sounds elitist, like, go buy the PC. But the problem is, like, people can't buy a PC that necessarily plays all of these things like well. You know what I mean? Like,
and you can't tell someone like just build a PC because not everyone knows how to do it.
Not everyone knows how to do it, and it's still expensive. Like, there's costs to gaming outside of just paying for games that like gatekeeps people from being able to do these things. And I'd love for in the future for us to be able to have the ability to just like, hey, there's this new game coming out and all I own is a cell phone and that's what I want to play it on, and have like realistically
Among Us.
realistically affordable ways to play AAA titles, big games, without having to pay thousands of dollars to run it efficiently.
So
I think that's what I want.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. What was the one thing that Google was doing that you could like play games? Like they did it with Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and my RD at the time, residence director in college, he called me into his office, and I thought I was in trouble. I'm like, oh no, what did I do this time? Because like I was the HRA, so like if something happened in the building and I didn't know about it, I found out about it through him, and it generally wasn't good. So. But no, he pulled me and he's like, hey, look at this. And on the school computer, which had a dual core processor, like 6 gigabytes of RAM, maybe, and like would have a hard disk drive speed of like 5,200 RPMs if the stars aligned and the moon was blue and also happened to be a harvest moon. And he was playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey on this thing. And I'm like, how the fuck?
So I've seen,
and that was cloud gaming, and I think cloud gaming being available for like, instead of buying a console and like getting a gaming rig, you know, like if you could feasibly find a way to make cloud gaming both cheap and accessible to everyone, or to those who would want it.
I forget what the terminology was for it, but there was this thing where essentially like the only thing that it would dry on your system was the like. Linus Tech Tips has advertised this thing a million times, and I don't remember what it is. But it's like the only draw it has on your own personal system is like the ability to display visuals. You get to put in inputs from your own computer. It sends it off to like this ghost computer in a separate area, right? They do all of the essentially, yeah. They do all of the inputs, and then they relay the visuals back to you. So the issue with that is more like the delay between like you send the signal, they respond to the signal, the visual gets sent back to you. Like what is the delay input between what you're doing?
Yeah,
and
no,
what
like
comes
the
back
delay
to you?
input on Assassin's Creed Odyssey was significant. It was like a solid like 3/4 of a second to a full second worth of delay. So like it was not terribly playable.
Right.
But it was still cool.
Right. And you couldn't do that with dial-up connection in the 90s. It's definitely expansion, but like it's also got its limitations.
Well, yeah, like, you know, me living in the middle of nowhere, we have Spectrum. That's the best we can get. My download speed is 13 megabytes a second at best.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's whole house divided between however many things are using your internet. Right. Like,
yeah.
But the expansion that's the expansion that I want to see is the ability to play games without having hundreds or thousands of dollars into machines that can capably do it.
Yeah.
That's the expansion I want to see. That's what's next in my head. That's going to be like, this is the coolest thing since cross console.
That's the coolest thing since sliced bread. I don't know what that face was and that accent was coming from, but like, I didn't mind it.
I appreciated it. It was just not expected, you know?
You know, sometimes that just happens. Did you know that Betty White is older than sliced bread?
I did, and that really messes with me. What were people doing to sandwiches before Betty White?
Cutting the whole loaf in half, right? And just putting like, you know, like cut the loaf in half, and then like the whole, and then you have like maybe like a small section of like ham and cheese, and then like 40 pounds of bread above and below. Like,
do you cut it top and bottom? Do you cut it left and right? Do you cut it so there's two long halves of bread because you've sliced it like through the middle? And how did one person not look at a loaf of bread and be like, "Hey, let's cut it into slices, you dummy"?
Well, like, they probably did. It just no one thought it was going to be a marketable like decision to like mass produce it with like, well, no one's gonna be dumb enough to buy pre-sliced bread when they can slice it in their own home.
Humans have been lazy since the invention of the wheel. If there's a better way to do it that requires less work, we're gonna find a way to do it, and that's literally since the wheel.
No, I get that, but like, see, the thing is, I would like to think that around the time of the invention of sliced bread, most people were pretty commonsensical to be like, why would I want to buy pre-sliced bread? Like, I can just slice it at home. Like, fuck that. Why would I do that? You know, that was when people were...
All right.
Maybe, I don't want to say when people were smarter.
Epiphany, brain blast.
All right,
the problem was Like, now, we go to the grocery store and we buy a loaf of bread, right? In 1910, they weren't going to the grocery store and buying a loaf of bread. They were probably making it themselves, which was most of the issue.
Or going to their bakery, where they didn't have time to slice it.
Sliced bread didn't exist because they weren't buying loaves of bread from somebody else they were making. That's why sliced bread has existed since then.
I will not disagree with that.
Brain blast. I'm smart. Smart.
Yeah. Sometimes I just happen to do the thing with the brain, and occasionally I will think about the things that I think about, and then, out of nowhere, my brain will go, and then, like, from the deep recesses of my mind, an enigma will form, and a gallon of milk will tip onto its side and leak its milk all over the table, and I will look at that and be like, that is sad, but this idea makes me happy.
Smooth brain do things sometimes.
Dude, I took my mom's quilting iron and fucking ironed out those wrinkles, man. Like, smooth brain is the superior brain. Change my mind.
Gets hot enough through the skull that all the wrinkles go away. Easy peasy.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
See?
All right.
We just hit him with the left, right. Bada bang, bada boom. Yeah, boy. Bada bang, bada boom. I can't take credit for that. Check out ProZD on YouTube. Cool guy. He was popular when Vine was alive.
Oh.
I wish Vine came back.
I also wish Vine came back. But
Anyways.
I had more to get into in the gaming thing, so I'm gonna say this once, and we're not gonna do it for 4 more episodes because that's how we operate around here. But I had more things to say.
Let's get this out of the way. I know that we're getting really close to our hour length, so we appreciate you guys if you stick around and listen to us for another 10-15 minutes. Sorry for the length of the video.
All right, if we're doing it now, we're doing it now. All right, so I want to
get out of the way. Let's not go for an obscenely long time. But
oh, that's so hard for us, Budward.
It is.
But I want to talk about the development of like gaming platforms rather than just gaming itself, right?
So like Twitch, right?
Yeah, Twitch is the big one, but I think that like other markets have their place in this too, right? Like, so Twitch is the easiest to talk about because I think if you're just going looking for gaming, Twitch is the easiest. Like, people are playing games on YouTube. Mr. Beast playing Among Us is literally open on YouTube on my left monitor, literally right here. Facebook gaming exists, and what was the one that Microsoft had for a while that I don't even remember what it was called, but it collapsed, right? There was a question. Mixer, thank you. There was a question posed to us on our Discord the other day about like some guy who's some game developer. He said that in the future, games should require licenses for streamers to use their content and create it as their own. On a really surface level, right? I don't think it's ever going to happen because games like Among Us wouldn't be popular without Twitch, right? But like, from a licensing standpoint, like, I can't play music on my Twitch channel, and I can't do it because like the platform that I'm using it on doesn't own the rights to be able to use that music. Alternatively, like things like TikTok, they own the rights to the music that you're allowed to use for your videos, right?
Yeah.
So I don't own any games that I've designed myself. Like, I've paid for games, obviously, but like, I have not paid to, or I've not had a game made under my own volition that says I'm the owner of this game. All the things that happen within this game are mine, right? So at some point, the same way as music, like, I haven't created music, I can't use that music. I haven't created any games, I can't use those other games, right? So on a surface level, it really makes sense to me.
And that's to require licensing,
yeah,
in order to actually stream these games that you're playing on a gaming
platform. If I load up a game of Call of Duty, right? Like, I, just like everyone else who's played Call of Duty, has paid for the rights to play the game. I'm now using Call of Duty as a platform to make my own content, right? It's like me going to Ninja's YouTube channel, right? Just downloading and ripping a video and then uploading it to the CCG channel and be like, hey, his content's my content now. I talked over it,
which
so
we would never do,
right.
Ever. No.
Right, like we've referenced things, but like, we're turning their content into thoughts and opinions of our own and stuff. But like, I'm under no circumstances are we claiming to own that. But if you go and you watch a Twitch stream, right? Mr. Beast is playing Among Us right there, right? Sure, he can talk over it. Sure, he can add his thoughts, and his gameplay is different than just owning the base level of the game, right?
Yeah.
But there's nothing that says that, like, hey, I have the right to broadcast this and use this as my thing. So Mr. Beast is going to end up making money off this Among Us stream, where Among Us, like, isn't. Sure, it can turn into extra game sales, or people could start like buying skins or whatever. Whatever the case is. In other cases, like Call of Duty that I referenced specifically, like that's still a $60 game. If somebody sees somebody playing it and goes, "I want to play Call of Duty too. This looks like fun," they could put the $60 into it, but it's much less than the return that a decent sized streamer is going to get off of it. Okay. So what do you think about things that are like licensing rights to stream?
That is a thought. And, you know, I hate the answer I'm going to give, too.
Okay.
I, on a surface level, can agree that licensing, I don't want to say should be required, but it would make sense.
Yeah.
That these people who are, like, if I made a game and someone started streaming it and made $400 during one stream, and I was lucky to get literally $20 on game sales alone, like, yeah, I would be upset. I'd be and I would be contacting him and be like, hey man, like at the very least, can you at least promote the game? Like, can you see if people would want it? Like, could you encourage people to purchase it? Like, I'm struggling over here and you're playing this game that I really, so like from a small content creator standpoint, I can very much understand the want for that.
Sure.
But like I don't know enough to argue against it as much as I want to argue against it. Because like, you know, that like, you know what, maybe you have more that you could give me on this. Because this is like, that's a really weird thought to have, because I've always been the guy that's like, no, fuck you. I bought the game. I'm going to do with this game what I want because you already got me $60.
Sure. I'm gonna come back to the risk reward I mentioned earlier, right? So Among Us has been around since 2017. It's a 3-year-old game. Almost everyone watching this video, almost everyone playing now, the majority of the player base has only been playing this for 6 months or less, right? So I think the ability to take a game and if the right streamer gets its hands on it, plays it, enjoys it, there's enough viewership that game blows up, right? Among Us and Fortnite would not be nearly as big as they are without Twitch. And that's a fact. So you have the risk reward that way. I think a game like Among Us saying you'd have to pay us $100 to stream this for a month, right? Like, it gatekeeps smaller streamers out. Like, realistically, would I have jumped into Among Us, paid $100 to be able to stream a $5 game and only do it with I froze? Maybe? No, I'm good. All right. I was temporarily frozen there. I can't hear you, bud. So I'm gonna pause this. Maybe we'll come back the next. I don't know what's gonna happen here. Give me a moment. We're back. Much later. We're back. So as I was saying, there's like a gatekeeping element, right? To be able to like pay in content to utilize these other companies' games, right? And I think like it would prevent a whole lot of small streamers from starting up if they decided to play more than one game, especially like variety streamers at small levels, like myself, like Budward, like Mike. We wouldn't exist, right? At least not to the same.
No, we would. No, unless we were like developing our own games, or we found games that didn't require licensure.
Yeah,
licensing.
Yeah,
like.
But the fairness of, hey, you're turning our thing and making money on your own and we're not making additional money, like, I think there's something to be said for that.
I agree. I just don't know how you'd go about fixing that.
Yeah.
Without screwing over a lot of other things that people already quote unquote take for granted.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors that go into it, but I also think like there's a limitation too about like how much should Twitch be responsible for, right? So like I mentioned TikTok, right? And that like they pay for the licensing on those songs.
I was just thinking that, like, you know, like
right.
something a part of the partner program would help pay for licensing the games on Twitch. Or
Mhm.
I don't. God, that's a weird one.
And
Like,
so
would you do like a top 10 games, and they like Twitch would go out and buy the licenses for those games every month, and like
Right.
it would be more like a lottery system.
Well-
like if you want to make money, like if Among Us wants to make additional money, Among Us needs to be in the top 10 in order to get its license purchased by Twitch.
right. Well, okay. So
That'd be weird.
TikTok's an awesome example for what I'm trying to go for here, right?
Yeah,
So,
go ahead.
There's a limit at which TikTok, it's hard to make money directly from TikTok unless a certain brand wants you to put their brand in your TikTok and then they pay you to do it. You don't make money off ad revenue. You don't make subscriptions. You don't make money for the number of followers you have. Like, there's no inherent, I'm generating money by creating TikToks, right?
Yeah.
TikTok still uses the money that they generate from ads to help out the people who create content on their platform, right? And I think, so you may have noticed on Twitch in these past couple days, and I'm fucking infuriated. They've started rolling out mid-roll ads, which is essentially, if you haven't seen an ad in a while, your video, you're watching your streamer will be interrupted to see an ad.
Really?
And it's every time. Bud, okay. Slight tangent. When I'm streaming, okay, and I roll my own ad, if I roll a 60-second ad as I get up to go to the bathroom, right? There's 20 minutes on my channel before I can roll another ad. I won't make even if I run another ad, I won't see financial returns from running ads to 50 billion people, okay? It doesn't matter until that 20 minutes after the ad is done is up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Twitch mid-roll ads are running every 10 minutes like clockwork. I'm going to leave all of that alone. Twitch, we got a bone to pick. Jeff Bezos, I'm talking straight to you.
He's not going to listen to you.
I know, but
he's busy counting his fucking gold bars in his goddamn super mansion.
My thing is, all right, back to the original conversation now that my tangent is re-railed right back into place. If TikTok feels the obligation to help out the people creating content on their platform by paying for those licensing rights, and platforms like Twitch are just continuing to find new ways to generate their own revenue and not help the streamers, like, what obligation do they have to pay for the licensing if licensing is something that's the thing in the future?
I'm not sure.
It's a very flabbergasting place to stand.
That's such a weird thing to bring up, and it's almost valid. And I hate that. I don't know where I would stand on this. I feel like I would stand on the side of startup companies and indie developers and be like, hey man, like, you're playing their game, you're making thousands of dollars, you gotta give something back to them. And then all the same, I'd be like, I don't know where I'd stand when it comes to like AAA titles that are like, oh, well, this came from Bethesda and they released Skyrim 47 times into a smart fridge. Like, fuck them. You play your game and you make as much money as you want.
Okay. Well, all right. Then as a final scenario, right? So we don't literally talk about this for 2 hours.
Sure.
I'm going to hit you with 3 scenarios and you tell me which is the most realistic to you personally, right?
Okay. Now, my answer can change in the future, mind you, for anyone watching.
Sure.
Anything I say here is not finite.
I also don't expect you to pick A, B, or C and just be done with it. Like, I'm sure there's some thought process that's going to go behind it, right?
Of course.
Okay. So if games change to require licensure to stream, and we're going to assume no assistance from things like Twitch or YouTube or whatever else, right? Just as a broad assumption, okay? Scenario A is that all games require the same cost, same licensure, low cost, but you can play it forever, right?
So a one low cost payment to buy the license to stream that game forever.
Whatever game you buy, right? Call it $20, and then you can stream that game forever. Okay?
Okay.
Scenario B is there's a monthly cost to be able to stream that game, right? And then scenario C is okay, hold on. Yeah, it's a monthly cost. We'll say that it changes by title. So a game like Among Us could be $5. A game like Call of Duty could be $120.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not good at numbers that way. Like, I'm not good at financial projections to be able to tell you what the numbers would be, but sure. And then scenario C is that, like, you're paying per stream to stream that game. At whatever cost it is, whether it's fixed, whether it's variable, doesn't matter. You're paying by stream, and theoretically, your stream isn't profitable if you're not generating at least that much. Okay?
Okay.
What's your threshold for when you would stop being a streamer? Which one of those, like, is effectively your, hey, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to stream because this got in my way. This is too much where streaming is no longer beneficial to me.
Well, the way you asked, I'm going to answer this two ways. Specifically, The way you just asked me is I would stop streaming completely forever. I don't stream for payment right now. I stream for fun.
Okay.
I would stop streaming entirely. I'd be like, all right, you know what? I don't have $20 to throw at this. I do not make enough money on Twitch to offset that purchase. I want to play Overwatch. I want to play Satisfactory, and I want to play Among Us, despite the fact that I don't play Among Us. And that alone.
Before you get too far into that, right? So, I don't know what you paid for Overwatch at the time you paid for it. I know the cost is pretty variable. They do sales and all that, right?
Yeah.
So you got it when it was $20, right? Make that a $40 game, and you can stream it forever at that threshold A, right? For some people, that's still worth it. So I don't think that's gatekeeping a whole lot of people. Whether your goal is to make money or not make money, you're able to create a community.
Let me answer this the second way then, because this is the other one. Ignoring, let's assume that I make profit on Twitch and that it's not necessarily a life like my career,
right? But
that it's more of a.
It's giving you some financial gain. Yes.
Yeah. Then I think I would want a mixture of A and B, where there's the monthly and then there's the full-time option, like forever. Like, you know, Overwatch, I'd buy the stream forever option. Whereas like Among Us, I would jump on the monthly, because I'm not going to play Among Us every single day of every single month. Whereas Overwatch, like, streamed it 7 months ago, I streamed it 2 days ago. Like Among Us, you streamed for 2 months straight, and not that I want to see the game die, but, like, you know, in 2 months there's gonna be another big top game that people are gonna like. Fortnite, I don't know if Fortnite's no longer in the top, but it's not in the top. Like, it's not like Fortnite is everywhere. Like, people aren't streaming, maybe a large portion of people aren't streaming Fortnite anymore, and so for those games I would want the bi-monthly. Like, you know, like, hey, half the price of the game, you get to stream it for the month. Like, Among Us is $5, throw me $2.50 and you get to stream it for the month. Like, I'm okay with that. Sure. Maybe even if that price is maybe double the cost, which would suck for AAA titles, but
sure. Okay, that's fair. I think for me personally, the cutoff is that line between B and C, where, like, I'm okay paying some variable costs. Again, this is assuming me personally. This isn't like I recognize that even level A is probably some sort of gatekeeping for smaller streamers, right?
All of these options are gatekeeping for smaller streamers.
Let's not
even try to beat around that bush.
100%.
All of these requiring licensure for any video game is going to be gatekeeping for some people, just as much as streaming for anyone, having a computer that can do it is gatekeeping.
Absolutely, 100%,
yeah.
and no doubt in my mind that that's true. But assuming where I'm at now, anyway, like, I'm willing to pay at a monthly cost, because I know, like, even if that cost is variable, right? Like, I know that, like, hey, if I can turn this into a handful of subs every month, like, I can offset most of that cost, and my ability to actively participate in streaming is fun enough for me that I'm willing to eat that cost even if I don't make it back, right? Like, based on where I'm at now. But I think, like, once you get into the point that, like, you're now paying for licensure, like, every time you play the game, like, okay, if I go and play, if we end this Budcast and I go and stream Call of Duty, right? Not a lot of people watch me play Call of Duty, and I'm not generating new interest because there's better people playing Call of Duty to watch. I'm not going to pay that one-time cost to not make that back just for the community, when I could play something that I know the community is already here for and enjoys. That's my line.
Yeah, I think a lot of what would dictate what lines you would need to cross and what lines, like, you wouldn't, would be the price of the game initially, and then the cost of that licensing for whatever version of it you were going for. Even if all three were available, which wouldn't be a dumb idea. I mean, it'd be logistical hell.
No.
But you know,
yeah.
When you talk about it like that, when it comes to the small streamers, I think that this whole licensing thing is dumb and bullshit. But you can't have it one way and then not have it the other. Like, you can't make it so that small streamers don't have to get licensing, but these big streamers do. Like, that's not fair. That's odd. Like, there's going to be riots about that. Like, there'd be complaints among thousands of people about that kind of stuff. So it's all or none. And when you think about it in the all or none idea, you know, well, is there anything inherently wrong with the system that we have right now? And that's not me making a statement that there's nothing wrong with it. There's always something wrong with every
mid-roll ads. Mid-roll ads.
Yeah. There's always something wrong with any system, no matter who developed it, no matter how it's implemented. There's always a problem with that system. Allow me to say that first. But would trying to fix the problem that we have right now cause more problems than what it's worth? And there's not really a way of knowing that until you start doing your research, testing, you know, like, fuck. I mean, people used to do testing with the economy in World of Warcraft to measure how the American economy was going to fluctuate and how the dollar would decrease in value. And, like, you know, you have to do your testing and stuff. And
sure,
for a big company such as Twitch or any other big gaming platform to just suddenly uproot themselves and be like, hey, well, we noticed that we had some problems that a couple of people didn't like. So we're going to uproot the whole system. We're going to flip it on its head, spin it around, slap it in the face, and put it back in. And we're going to see how it works. And it's going to make a lot of people angry because it's not what they're used to. But hey, you got to get used to it because change is a thing that humans don't like. So when we change new things, just kind of expect it and good luck. Like, no. And the reason I say it specifically like that is that Res Life at Alfred State, where I was an RA, I'm no longer an RA, thank God.
Yeah.
And that's mostly because of coronavirus, not because of
politics. Yeah.
Sure, I mean, you can call it politics. But they uprooted their entire residential, like, literally, like, grabbed it by the dirt, picked it up, ripped up the root ball, flipped it upside down, put the flowers in the hole, covered it up in dirt, expected it to grow again.
Sure.
And while it did start growing, it pissed off so many people. It broke so many things, and so many more problems needed to be solved than what problems were solved by doing what they did. They solved 5 and created 75. And so I think, you know, when it comes to this licensing kind of an idea, like, just straight up implementing it based on just loosely the discussion that you and I have had would be foolish and dumb, which is why I would hope that Jeff Bezos and his cabinet of people would be smart enough to put in the time to research the changes that they could make. Mid-roll ads. You know, and put in the effort and the time to find what would and wouldn't work. And, you know, I could continue going on, but I think my point has been made and that I'm just beating a dead horse at this point.
And I think it's also probably a pretty good place to wrap it up. We've been here for days waiting to finish this.
I know, right? I had to change my flannel and everything. Got into a fight with a bear. Added another bone to my bone maraca, you know, like... Bones! But anyways, I think that's all I've got.
Yeah, I think we're good to go.
And I'll drink to that.
Same. I ran out of beer because we've been waiting so long. I ran out of beer. We've been waiting so long to finish this. But yeah. So next time I have beer, I'll drink to that.
Alrighty then.
All right, bud. We'll catch you all next week. Thanks for watching.